So getting started on YouTube and figuring out what niche you should actually be in can be a journey. And today I'm excited to bring on Ben Kaiser, one of our success students in our Video Ranking Academy, where we're walking through the steps he took to figure out his niche, how he made a pivot during his content creation process, and how he's able to now go full time, work from home, be with his family, all because of the power of YouTube. My name is Heather Torres, and you are watching the YouTube Made Simple show. Welcome to the YouTube Made Simple show, where we are helping you overcome fear, build confidence, and launch and grow a successful YouTube channel. Now, today I'm excited because Ben Kaiser, one of our Video Ranking Academy success students, will be joining me on the show. I interviewed Ben and we talked all about how to actually figure out your niche. We went pretty deep on this one, so I want you to stay locked and loaded and enjoy this episode. Well, I'm excited because I have Ben here with me, and Ben is actually one of our success students inside of Video Ranking Academy. And in this entire series, I want to be bringing YouTubers, business owners, entrepreneurs to the YouTube Made Simple show so that we can pick their brains and really see how they did what they did and dive deeper into things like today's topic on how do you actually pick your niche. So Ben, tell us a little bit about who you are and what your channel's about.
Yeah, so I am a tech YouTuber, but my deep niche is laptops for creative professionals. So I kind of say it like the triple niche, the triple threat. So you have tech, laptops, and then you have laptops for creative professionals. And so as I get deeper in my niche, I get more specific and bring more value to a specific group of people. And when I first got started, I was nowhere near where I am now. It was a lot of searching and testing and just really trying to figure out how to find what I was going to talk about on YouTube. I have a graphic design background. So I have a bachelor's and master's degree in graphic design, which gave me my expertise in tech for creative professionals. So when people are, often coming to me and saying, hey, what should my niche be? I'll say, okay, what do you like? And what is it about you that allows you to go deeper with a specific group of people? So I also know how to sew, but what would my niche be in sewing? I'm not just going to go and sew anything that wouldn't capture a specific group of people. But I have made dresses, I have made backpacks, I have made all these different things over the years. And that would be how I would start to kind of think through niching down more than just top level tech and then working my way down to where I am today.
So awesome. And I want to break this down a little bit more because, I really wanted to bring this idea of how do you pick your niche, because you're in a big niche. You're in the tech space. And when I think about tech, I mean, even Think Media, we are in the tech space, but you and I actually Think Media and what you're doing isn't actually competing because you're in your own sphere inside of the tech space. Walk me through, how did you even decide to go that direction? What was the sparking point to be like, I want to record or I want to do videos around laptops, but not just laptops, but for graphic designers, creative entrepreneurs? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to get super real with you. So when I first got into YouTube, I was working a graphic design job for a nonprofit Christian missionary organization. I was making like $21,000 after taxes. And my wife was a full-time nurse. So like my wife's income was good. Like that's kind of like what we were living off of. And then my income was like, hey, let's buy food. Like that was like all my income really did. And so my wife came to me about a year into that job and she's like, hey, I think we should start having children. I would love to start having children. I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome. She's like, I'm going to quit my job when we have children. And so I'm sitting there on like $21,000 a year and I'm like, oh yeah, that's not going to work. And so a friend of mine who worked for the agency as well comes into my office and I'm like, hey, my wife just told me she'll quit her job when we have kids. And I don't make enough here. And he's like, well, have you ever heard of affiliate marketing? I was like, no, I have no idea what that means. He's like, well, here's a course I found and just check this out. And it was like a really, really elementary level course about just like affiliate marketing through like niche websites. So that's where I got like tuned into things. And so I started watching that course, and then I started watching YouTube, and that's where I stumbled across Sean's course, Video Ranking Academy. And I found that my goal was going to be to sell like other online courses for like data analytics and software engineering. And I was going to talk about these niche topics, and those niche topics were going to direct to affiliate marketing for courses, and people were going to buy courses, and I was going to make $1 million, right? Like that's going to happen. That was my goal. And what I found was those videos did well. I ended up ranking like #1 for like a bunch of data analytics terms. And I literally barely knew about data analytics. I just would like research the topic, and I tried to explain it like super simply for like the average person who like might want to do a career switch. Okay. Trust me, long story is going to make sense. So from there, I was realizing that, okay, these videos were getting a lot of views, but I wasn't selling any courses. I might sell one every other month and make like $30. And I was like, this is not working. And I was ignoring the fact that I was a graphic designer. I used a computer every day. I knew a lot about computers and how the programs interacted with the software inside of them. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and make a top 5 best laptops for graphic designers. I'd been watching some of Sean's videos. I'd yet to dive into Video Ranking Academy, so my videos were just kind of ranking okay at the time. But I watched one of Sean's videos, and he's like, hey, make a best of, like if you're going to start trying to get affiliate sales. I was like, all right, I'm going to go for that. So I made a top 5 best laptops video, and that video just blew up. And I was really excited. I started making some Amazon affiliate commission, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. But I still wasn't fully committed to that train. And the reason being was I didn't have a lot of laptops. I went on Amazon, found a couple laptops that looked like the one that I was using, and it worked well for me. And I kind of built this best of list, but I didn't quite have a proof of concept. So my wife and I went to an affiliate marketing summit. And from there, we just learned more about affiliate marketing, but it really didn't help. And so it was that point that I signed up for Video Ranking Academy, and Sean broke down like a full system on how to rank your videos and also create like really a suite of videos to dominate your niche. And that's where the green light turned on for me. And I realized these one-off videos weren't going to make me the money I needed to quit my job. What I realized is I needed a suite of videos to dominate the topic and be an owner in my specific niche, which is at the point where I started reviewing the laptop I had. I started borrowing laptops, and then I reached out to a few brands, but we can jump into that more.
So good. You said a couple things that were really interesting, Ben, that I want to kind of just touch on.
Yes.
One, when you jumped into YouTube, you did what almost like a quote unquote classic mistake that people do is they're like, let me go in this totally different direction of something that I'm not really very skilled in, but I know there's money in it.
Yeah.
But every day you were using, and you had this knowledge in graphic design, you had this knowledge of how to use these things, all of those pieces. And so one takeaway, if you're listening right now, is if you are on the fence of trying to figure out what your niche is, Ben just gave it to you right there. What are you already doing? What are the things and the tools and the life experience you have that you're already using so that you can start teaching on it? That was the first thing you brought up, Ben. The second thing that you said was the suite of videos to dominate your niche. And in this interview specifically, I really wanted to talk about how you got into this laptop niche area. And what you so eloquently said, like, I just looked up the best laptops. I mean, it wasn't like this massive revelation of how to get to a certain point, but it's the idea that if you want to dominate in a niche, you have to create a suite of videos. You have to create a lot of videos, because the more hooks that are in the ocean, the more opportunities you have for people to buy the product. So I know the question people are asking right now, especially in the tech niche, and then we'll get deeper into some of the other questions. How are you getting laptops, Ben? How are you doing this?
So that's been a long process. This year is probably, and I'm about 2 years in, has been the year I've gotten the most, and it takes time. And usually what I tell people is, like, review what you have around your house, ask your friends. Like, I borrowed laptops from my dad. Like, he would buy a new MacBook Pro for his job, and I'd be like, hey, can I borrow that for a week and just review it? I had a few laptops just, from over the years being a graphic designer. But then really what I found is like, go to third party wholesalers or suppliers first, because they're the ones that aren't getting like all the Amazon and Best Buy and direct to consumer attention. They're the ones that are trying to get sales, because normally people go straight to, let's say, Lenovo or HP or Dell or Apple. But these third party resellers are trying to get their hook. They're trying to get their profit. And so what I did is I went after one of those third party resellers first, and I got about 7 to 8 laptops from them over the course of about a year and a half. And that is what allowed me to be able to go to other brands and say, hey, I've worked with your laptop. I actually got it from this third party. Do you ever work with influencers directly? That was my first step.
So awesome. And I want to point something out. So you're doing this on the side with a regular job, starting a family, all of those things. And so I just want to challenge listeners then that this all, you said it takes time. That's number one. And it's one step at a time. Once you've got that in with that one company, then you could use that leverage for the next company and the next company. Where'd you learn those skills?
Struggle. That's where I learned those skills. Desperation. That's where I learned those skills. I woke up every day for the first year of YouTube at 4:30, and I would work from 4:30 to about 7 before I'd eat breakfast and go to my day job. And so me and my wife got into, I wouldn't say fights, but a lot of aggressive negotiations on the fact that I was working too much. So when I was dating my wife, we hung out a ton. We were college students. We went for bike rides, we did all this stuff. I got hired full time, but I was only 4 days a week, and she's a nurse, so she's 3 days a week. So we hung out a lot on Fridays and Saturdays. Well, I start YouTube, and first of all, I'm waking up at 4:30, so I'm not waking up next to her when she wakes up. And I stopped taking off Fridays, so I would do Fridays as my full YouTube day. And the reason I'm saying that is you got to really talk with your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever it might be, that you're like, hey, I'm going to get serious about this for a year or so, because that's where you can have some really, really big struggles in your relationships in your life. If your people you're doing life with aren't prepared for what you're about to dive into. I hope we didn't sidetrack too much there, Heather.
No, that was really good advice, and so good, even to the idea of like, how do you learn all this? You just put in the work, you put in the hours. But you're so right. I mean, even when it comes to just doing YouTube, doing anything new that's going to take away time from your life, especially trying to grow a YouTube channel, it is going to take time. It is going to take dedication, perseverance. It's going to take my friend Ben Azadi says, the suck before you get to success. It takes all of
I love that
to get there. So I would like to know though, when you were making those first couple videos, and then you really looked at the analytics and you're like, no, I'm going to pivot into laptops. I'm going to pivot into helping creative entrepreneurs, which by the way, is a huge niche, even though it sounds like a small niche. Like I help create, it's probably $1 billion niche when it comes to laptops, accessories, software. I mean, the ability to tap into that, it feels restrictive though, right? Like
it really did.
Rather than tech, it's restrictive. So walk me through some of the fears when you're like, no, I am going to make this pivot. And you kind of like planted your flag in the ground to say, no, I'm going to help this group of people with this one problem. Walk me through like how you mentally prepared yourself for the feeling of the restrictiveness that comes with it.
Yeah. And, I'd like to say I had fears on the restrictiveness, but really it was more the fear of like, I don't even know how to say this because it was restrictive, but it was more the fear of I'm not going to make money quick enough, which I think is more of a fear of restrictiveness, but it didn't feel like that at the moment, if that makes sense.
Go deeper. Why?
Because, when you see like a large pool, you're like, oh, I can capture like all these views. I see Dave 2D, I see Marquez Brownlee, I see Jared's Tech, and these guys are like doing these gaming niches with billions and billions of gamers, where I'm talking like hundreds of millions of creators. And so for me, it was like, I'm going to miss all those people. Like I didn't do gaming benchmarks. I didn't do all of that niche, which really people basically yelled at me in the comment section for a good year that I was not doing gaming benchmarks. But I knew if I could bring the most value to this one group of people, that it would ultimately pay off. But that was hard because I just saw that I would miss out on, like you're saying, this whole group of people. But what I came to find out through Sean is, would you rather own 10% of the world or have like 0.000000001% of like the entire world. So would you
Mhm.
rather own one world or have a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of the entire world? And I was like, well, it makes more sense to own one world. Anytime somebody searches video editing or graphic design in correlation to laptops, you see this face. And
Mhm.
so that just ended up making more sense.
Yeah. Now let's go. You don't have to go into like actual full on numbers, but
Yeah.
when you made that pivot and you decided, no, I'm going to do this because ultimately you do want this to be a career. You want to be able to be at home with your family, to be
Yeah.
able to, create the freedom in your lifestyle and not have the day to day, 9 to 5 job. What did this do income wise when that actually was the fear?
Yeah. So I was doing pretty good making, these kind of best of videos and lineup videos. But then when I fully pivoted and started getting laptops and started reviewing them, it was about $14,000 for the year in 2019. And I was really starting to commit, but then I went to CES in
Mm.
2020 and met face to face with brands and said, "Hey, this is my plan. I'm going all in on creative professionals." And at that point, I was able to get face to face with brands and start getting some more computers. And when I made that pivot that year, I ended up hitting pre-tax. I want to say it was like 75,000 roughly. No, sorry, 35,000. So I ended up going 35,000. So it was almost a 4x return going all in. So that really made the biggest difference.
Yeah, and it's going to be the catalyst into the next
Yeah.
season of going full time, the next season of creating more content, the next season of building a team, all because you chose a niche, Ben, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I got serious about one group of people and I decided that I was going to show up anytime somebody hit search in relation to what I was doing.
Now, a lot of times too, when you make that pivot and you go, no, I'm going all in on that. Did you this is a question that I'm like, I know the answer, but I want the audience to hear it.
Yeah.
Did actually, when you said I'm going all in on this group of people, did all of a sudden there became like 25 other opportunities in that niche because you were like, no, I'm going to zone in on these people, and then all of a sudden you see all these other problems that you can solve for those exact people?
Yeah. And I think the way that that transpires is when you first enter a niche, for instance, for me, tech, you see like all these questions already answered. So some questions that stand out to me are like, what is a CPU? What is a GPU? What is RAM? What is storage? And all those questions are answered. So when I first came in, I'm like, oh, all those questions are answered. I've got nothing I can do about that. But then when you niche down, what you can do is, what does a GPU mean for graphic design? What is the best CPU for video editing? CPU is explained for video editors. And then I could go on and on. I have like 50 videos about topics that people have already filmed that I didn't really know super well. But what I did is I took my knowledge of video editing and graphic design. I watched Linus Tech Tips video on CPUs so I understood them better. And then I explained what the implications were for video editing and graphic design because he was talking to generalists and gamers, which
Mhm.
made no sense to the creative professional industry.
Mhm. Yeah, man, so many nuggets there. The idea that I'm like, I'm going to take notes because I want to do that too. I'm like, what is someone sharing? Here's a power tip. What is someone sharing in a generalized way that you
Yes,
can then take that information and share it in your specific way? That's a challenge to you who are watching the show right now.
exactly.
Figure that out. Figure out how you can then make something that's generalized, very specific, because people type in for what they're doing. I do make videos like this for my homeschool channel, like how to start homeschooling. Only a homeschool mom or dad is going to search that, right? It's
Yeah.
calling out the person. So by you doing that and saying for video editors actually allows for it to be specific to their actual problem. All right,
Yeah.
Ben, I would like to know, what is your advice for someone who's just starting out? Obviously, they're watching this video, how to find your niche, how to pick a niche. What advice do you have if they are Ben 2 years ago?
I mean, I would say first of all, like at a base level, just commit to a year And more than that, like commit to a spree, because what that does is that allows you to get as much data as possible into your channel in a short amount of time. So when I started, I said I was going to record 6 days a week for 60 days. And so what that did is it allowed me to just drive a ton of content into my channel so that at the end of 60 days, I could see what worked and what didn't. Now, keep in mind that that was data analytics. So the first step, if I could go back, was to focus on something that I was good at and I knew about and was already in my brain as a tool set of skills that I had. So, but then after you decide on that niche and something that you're good at and you have knowledge on, do that spree. Because then what you can do is look back and see what worked and then replicate that and do more of that. That's really the kickoff point of how I would start.
So one of the things I see a lot, Ben, is that when before someone starts, they actually wait. So I want to know, how long did you wait to get started? They'll be thinking about it, iterating about it. What videos that should they do? Were you someone who waited? And if not, why do you think that?
That's a fantastic question, because that is what I see the biggest differentiator between people who start on YouTube and win and people who continue to wait. And I think for me, my biggest benefit of my personality is I'm not afraid to fail. And I did not wait at all. As soon as I figured out that you could post videos on YouTube that did not have to be funny cat videos or old Super Bowl commercials, I was like, and it's free. I was like, why are we not doing this, Ben? And so I think what I did was I was relentless and fearless in the fact that I was not afraid to be wrong. My first videos, I'm embarrassed how often I wasn't not 100% wrong, but I definitely wasn't right. And the laptops that I recommended worked for graphic design, but they weren't really the best for graphic design. But I realized looking back that people still got value from that video and people still were appreciative of the explanation and the recommendations that were made. Now, I talked to a lot of people about starting YouTube channels. My wife says I should stop because basically everybody I talk to, I'm like, you need to start a YouTube channel. And she says, Ben, not everybody wants to start a YouTube channel. I'm like, no, but everybody has to. And the biggest fear that I listen to when I'm talking to people about starting a YouTube channel is they're so afraid that they might say something wrong. They say, what if I'm incorrect? I'm like, bro, this ain't a textbook. Like, there's no right and wrong here. Like, you have interpretation. I have a friend who's an insane reader. I mean, he can read 30 books in like 15 days if he wanted to. And I'm like, bro, like, why don't you do book reviews or like philosophy unboxings or unpackings? I don't even know what you'd call him as a philosopher, and he's like, yeah, but like, what if I'm wrong? And I'm like, who cares? Like, you're going to be wrong. And I think like, that's probably the biggest fire that I have burning in me is I'm not afraid to be wrong. I have people commented today how wrong one of my videos was that I posted 15 minutes ago. And you know what? They're right. It was wrong. I didn't get it right. But guess what? I'll learn. And I'll make it better next time. And I think that's the biggest thing is don't be afraid to be wrong. Because you know what? Somebody's going to comment. Somebody's going to tell you that you're wrong. You get to research. And the next time you get to do it right. I just, don't be afraid of that.
So good. So good. And yeah, it's also, you said a little bit ago, even like the analysis paralysis. What video should I do? How long should the video be? Should I do this background? Should it be that background? And I'm like, just pick up the camera and make the video because it's probably not going to be your best video. I think that's the fear. Well, what if this goes viral? It's probably not going to.
One of my best videos in German coming out. One of my best videos is completely out of focus. Like, best laptops for Photoshop, 150,000 views in like 6 months. Completely out of focus. But I was like, I'm not going to reshoot it. I've got to go to work. So I posted it and it took off. And everybody's like, this is out of focus. But it was really helpful. So funny.
Yeah. We had that with the podcast when we first started this video podcast. At first, we were just going to do audio only.
Mm,
And then we're like, we're the video people. We should probably set up a camera and
yeah.
actually start a video podcast. And Sean and I had written our notes because I was going to read the intro that we had written 10 minutes ago of the podcast. So in the first like 6 episodes, I'm reading the intro, like, welcome to the Think, it was called Think Marketing then. So we even changed the name.
Yeah.
I was welcome to the Think Marketing podcast. And I'm reading it and literally just eaten alive in the comments of like, why is she reading? You should not read. Look at the thing. I'm thinking,
You're so
people,
professional. What
these
are you
podcasts
doing?
have thousands of views on them. Me reading
Yep.
doesn't matter.
I also think another fear in getting started is I'm afraid that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing that my dad, he's an incredible project manager. He actually does big signage in Vegas, like all the big LED signs on like all the strip and all that. That's like stuff that he does. And he's an incredible project manager. And I'm like, Dad, like, why don't you like do courses on project management? Like you make bank consulting to other companies for project management. And my dad has this idea that he wants to be like in real estate. And I'm like, okay, cool. But why don't you like make a ton of money and then pour it into real estate? And then you can do both.
Mhm.
And this is the thing with like tech reviews. People are like, oh, do you love laptops? I'm like, yeah, laptops are cool, but I'm not in love with them because I have like a larger vision of life.
Mhm.
But laptops and learning YouTube is on the path towards where I'm going. And so don't be afraid that if you start one thing, that you're going to be on it forever. Like you have to get monetized. Like Sean says, you got to get money for the mission. And me and my wife have a secret project that we're working on that you could find it on YouTube if you could figure it out. But it's something that makes no money. But because I have the tech channel, which has incredible affiliate marketing sales, we can do that channel and
Mhm.
build that opportunity. And one day, maybe that secret project will make money.
Mhm. So good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and really, I mean, I think about this too. I'm the YouTube girl. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also so many other things,
So
but
much more.
it opens up the door
Yeah.
to more opportunities. So when you're thinking about starting, you're thinking about picking your niche, just pick one and just
Mhm.
go headfirst into it because that's going to be, I say you won't even know the possibilities on the other side of just saying yes.
You're
Like,
going to learn
I'm going to do it.
so much. You're going to
Mhm.
learn so much more than you ever realize. Like who I am today versus who I was when I got married. My wife and I look at each other and we're like, we are nobody who we were when we got married, but we're like, thank the Lord. Like
Mhm.
we are so happy who we were when we got married, but we're even happier with who we are now on
Yeah.
this journey. It's just,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Great advice. And you're on your way to 100,000 subscribers, on your way to
Yes.
full time. That's coming
Yeah.
very soon. And I just want to applaud you and say thank you for being one of our success students that we could highlight. It's always awesome to be able to bring on students who are doing the work, that are actually putting in the hours, actually following the system, and really making impact, not just in their world, but in other people's lives. So, Ben, where can they go if they want to follow along on your journey? If they're a creative entrepreneur and want to know what type of laptop they should use, or if they just want to like peek into your world and see the types of videos you're creating?
Yeah. So on YouTube, I'm just Ben G Kaiser. And so youtube.com/Ben G Kaiser. It is the only platform I'm on. And that would be another power tip. Don't dabble in everything, go deep on one thing. And then when you hire a team like Sean and Heather have done, then you can do everything. Don't do
Power
everything all at
tips.
once. Yeah.
Power tips. I love it, Ben. Well, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Ben, and I would love to know down in the comments section, what other niches would you like me to feature on the show? We have so many success students inside of Video Ranking Academy that all I need to do is send them a DM and they will show up on the show. So let me know in the comments, what niches do you want to hear from on this show? Now, like I've mentioned, Ben is a part of our Video Ranking Academy. This is a different program, but if you're interested in learning more about our advanced courses, you can go to startvra.com if you want to learn how to join Video Ranking Academy. Thank you so much for being a part of this YouTube Made Simple community. I love being able to show all of the success students that we have and bring on other guests to talk about how do we just keep it simple? How do we make YouTube happen? And how can we do this and fit it into our lifestyles right now? Thanks for being a part of the show, and we'll catch you in the next episode.